Seth Rollins versus Dominik Mysterio street fight at SummerSlam this Sunday at the Amway Center, live, exclusive on the WWE Network. This is one I'm really looking forward to. I must say, it's one I'm really excited about, and I think it's going to be a really fun match. And I know it's one that a lot of you guys are talking about. We're going to do a little bit of a preview here. We're going to do a lot of content on this channel over the next few days. Obviously, it's SummerSlam weekend, arguably second, third biggest show of the year, biggest event of the summer for WWE. Outside of the Performance Center now, in the Amway Center, inside the WWE Thunderdome. A lot of exciting stuff going on. Of course, Saturday as well as NXT TakeOver 30. You got AEW Dynamite on Saturday as well. So just a very, very exciting few days. So we're going to be doing a lot of content here on the channel. But we're going to be previewing Dominik Mysterio versus Seth Rollins in a street fight here. Now, of course, this is Dominik Mysterio's in-ring debut for WWE, his first ever match in professional wrestling, and it's going up against the Monday Night Messiah. Now, we're going to try and do a bit of a linear timeline, because this is actually a story that's obviously it's had its ups and downs. when I think of the Rey Mysterio Seth Rollins feud, the eye for an eye, etc., etc. But it also has had its moments, and in a period of time which longer form stories aren't necessarily told, this is one of the more longer form stories that we're seeing from WWE. Recently, so you have to try, when you preview, you have to try and tell a bit of a linear narrative here. So Seth Rollins was rechristened the Monday Night Messiah towards the end of 2019-2020, preaching the importance of sacrificing people, superstars, for the greater good of Monday Night Raw, and this subsequently included Rey Mysterio. Now, after Seth Rollins was defeated by Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank for the WWE Championship, he decided to attack Rey Mysterio. So the following night after this defeat, he took out his frustration on Rey Mysterio during a tag team match. Seth Rollins looked despondent. He looked out of his mind. This is also as well like 24 hours after he shook the hand of Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre earned his respect, but Rey Mysterio had not, apparently, which just didn't make any sense to me at the time. But anyway, in one of the last shows that didn't have a crowd or an audience at all, Seth Rollins drove Rey Mysterio's eye into the corner of the steel ring steps, and then this would begin the storyline between Rey Mysterio, or the Mysterio family, and Seth Rollins. Now, Dominik Mysterio, fans, it's strange. If you're a long-term fan of Dominik Mysterio, you've essentially grown up watching or have watched him grow up in front of your very eyes. Now, the first time we ever saw Dominik is when he was obviously a young child, which was in 2005. He was part of the rivalry between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. At the time, Eddie Guerrero was saying that Dominik was actually his biological son, and it was a son out of wedlock for Eddie Guerrero, and he'd given him to the Mysterio family, Rey and his wife Angie, and then this led to a match at SummerSlam, a famous or maybe infamous match at SummerSlam 2005. It was a ladder match between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero for the custody of Dominik. Yes, the custody of a child was determined in a ladder match at SummerSlam. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that 15 years later, after that match, in which the custody of him was up for grabs, Dominik Mysterio is making his WWE in-ring debut at the very same event. Fate is a weird thing, isn't it? An absolutely crazy thing. It wasn't the only appearance that Dominik made, though, when he was younger. 5 years later, he made an appearance on SmackDown alongside the rest of his family, his sister Aaliyah and his mother Angie and Rey Mysterio. This was during Rey Mysterio's feud with CM Punk and the Straight Edge Society. But that was Dominik's final appearance on WWE programming for roughly about 10 years. And then fast forward to last year, March 2019, heading into WrestleMania, the feud between Rey Mysterio and Samoa Joe over the United States Championship. We would see Dominik Mysterio appear once again, but this time he was like twice the size of his father. Was a way taller guy, and he was fully grown up. And there was teased on multiple occasions that Samoa Joe might get physical with Dominik Mysterio, but it never happened. I don't think there was any plans for that. At the time, Dominik had been learning to wrestle, and had been, if you look on his social media feed, if you look at Rey Mysterio's social media feeds, you can see that Dominik Mysterio was indeed learning to wrestle. So he didn't get any physical harm with Samoa Joe, which is interesting considering that Samoa Joe has sort of been the guy to maybe stick up for Dominik Mysterio recently on Monday Night Raw. Now that Samoa Joe's in the commentary booth, but it's kind of like, well, a year ago you were threatening to like murder the guy, so Samoa Joe, don't trust Samoa Joe. But then the physicality of Dominik Mysterio all changed. We finally saw Dominik Mysterio get physical during Rey Mysterio's feud with Brock Lesnar last year over the WWE Championship. This was brilliant. This was absolutely brilliant. The angle on Monday Night Raw was phenomenal. Was absolutely phenomenal. It was during the season premiere of Monday Night Raw in was it the end of September, like September 30th, 2019. And you had Rey Mysterio and his son come out, open the show. Rey Mysterio was actually meant to challenge for the Universal Championship against Seth Rollins later on in that show. And basically, Brock Lesnar interrupts, beats the hell out of Rey Mysterio. Then Dominik Mysterio is in the crowd, and then Brock Lesnar just about kills Dominik Mysterio. And credit to Dominik Mysterio, he took his bumps like a man. He took them like an absolute champ. Brutal German suplexes, just got the hell kicked out of him. But everyone at the time was impressed, and I think surprised that, okay, he took his bumps well there. Like, you know, going up against Brock Lesnar is no mean feat, and taking the beating from Brock Lesnar is no mean feat, and he did well. He did very, very well. And then obviously this led to Survivor Series when Rey Mysterio challenged Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Rey Mysterio and Dominik actually double-teamed Brock Lesnar, utilizing weapons. A tandem 619. Dominik actually hit a frog splash from the top rope as well. Even though Brock Lesnar won the match, that finish for me at Survivor Series of having Dominik involved, I thought was great. And again, I thought he did really, really well during that spot. So since then, he's kind of been a more regular on-screen performer. Wherever there's been Rey Mysterio, Dominik's been pretty close or nearby, talking Rey Mysterio out of retirement on several occasions. As Rey Mysterio became the United States champion in 2019 as well. So this has been a slow burn for Dominik Mysterio in terms of finally getting inside the ring. So after the attack by Seth Rollins that we talked about earlier, that Seth Rollins had attempted to blind Rey Mysterio by shoving his eye into the steel ring steps, this led to an eye for an eye match at the horror show at Extreme Rules. Now, I'm going to try and get through this eye for an eye match as quickly as possible because my thoughts are out there on the channel about what I thought about this match. Like, as soon as this is one of those weird situations in the eye for an eye match, the very moment we heard that the finish was it's an eye for an eye, the only way to win the match is by removing the eye of your opponent, everyone without fail went, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. And the match itself, no one had any doubts about the match. Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins is always going to be a great match, and that's exactly what it was. It was a great match. A great match. But we knew that the finish involved removing someone's eye, and the finish was going to be horrific, and it's exactly what it was. And not horrific in the horror show, horrific as in, what? What even was that? So the match came to a finish when Rey Mysterio's already injured eye, was driven once again into the steel steps by Seth Rollins. Apart from this time, Rey Mysterio's eye actually popped out of his head. His eyeball came out of his socket. They had a fake eyeball, which Mysterio covered up. Seth Rollins started to vomit everywhere, and so did everyone at home watching it because it was a terrible finish. But it was a match. It was okay. It was a spectacle. I suppose people are still talking about it now, right? Maybe that's the thing. People are still talking about it now. People will continue to talk about it for good or worse. WWE likes to get people talking about their shows. So once Rey Mysterio's eye had been removed, globe luxation they called it. Once his eye had been removed by Seth Rollins, Dominik Mysterio decided he wanted retribution and not in the silly faction style. He wanted to get some revenge for the Mysterio family. So Rey Mysterio's son Dominik started to attack Seth Rollins and his disciple Murphy with a kendo stick on Monday Night Raw. And in a backstage interview on the August 3rd, 2020 edition of Monday Night Raw, he said that he'd challenge Seth Rollins to a match at SummerSlam. He said, quote, if anyone thinks I'm crazy now, then they're going to think I'm crazy when I challenge Seth Rollins to a match at SummerSlam. So the match was set. We were going to get Dominik Mysterio's in-ring WWE debut. And then this was made official the following week on Monday Night Raw. in a contract signing mediated or moderated, whatever you want to call it, by the very man that was threatening him a year earlier, Samoa Joe. First of all, Dominik signed a contract which officially made him a WWE superstar. And then Seth Rollins and Dominik Mysterio signed the match for their match at SummerSlam. Keep in mind that also Samoa Joe does have his history, I suppose, with Seth Rollins and his followers. He was feuding with Seth Rollins and Murphy earlier this year, so that explains why he has his hatred of Seth Rollins. But okay, I guess that. During the contract signings, Rollins said that he believed his sacrifices were truly for the greater good and that he had no choice but to become the Monday Night Messiah. Dominik challenged that and said that Rollins changed the lives of others for the worst, including Rey Mysterio, including the likes of Humberto Carrillo, who he's injured, and including Aleister Black, who we haven't seen on WWE TV since Seth Rollins did the very same thing that he did to Rey Mysterio, shoved Aleister Black's eye into the steel ring step. We still don't know when Aleister Black is going to return. Maybe he'll return at SummerSlam. We'll have to wait and see. Seth Rollins, though, he said it wasn't going to be just a regular match between Dominik Mysterio and Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. He suggested making their match held under no disqualification rules. Not only would Dominik Mysterio be able to use his kendo stick or any weapon, but he said the rules would apply for Rollins as well. Thus, their upcoming match will indeed be a street fight. Now, later on in the show, Seth Rollins faced Humberto Carrillo. But then Buddy Murphy, I still call him Buddy Murphy. I don't know about you, I still call him Buddy Murphy. Murphy blindsided Dominik before bringing him into the ring. Dominik attempted to fight back, but he was overwhelmed by Seth Rollins and Murphy, and then we had another fantastic segment here. This was great. Dominik Mysterio was tied up into the ropes. He was stripped off, and Murphy and Seth Rollins hit this poor kid with 30 kendo stick shots. Dominik Mysterio's body was just black and blue with bruises and welts. It was uncomfortable. It was tough to watch. It was horrible. If you had a paying crowd there, there'd have been people in the audience crying. You had Seth Rollins waving at the camera saying the greater good is a beautiful thing. To be continued, Ray. This was brilliant. I saw some people on social media getting angry at this segment, saying this was uncalled for. This is WWE bullying. You are... I'd hate to use the term mark as a derogatory term, but come on. It's meant to evoke emotion. That's what makes pro wrestling so great. It's meant to make you feel. It's meant to make you get angry, be happy, cry, cheer, all of that stuff. That's what pro wrestling's about. The whole angle was to get you PO'd. That's exactly what it did. It was uncomfortable to watch. It shouldn't always be comfortable to watch. It's meant to make you feel emotions. It's meant to evoke an emotional response from the audience in the arena and the audience at home. And that's exactly what this segment did. It sets up the match perfectly at SummerSlam, because you really want to see Seth Rollins, after all he's done to the Mysterio family, right? He's blinded the father. He's attacked the son. This guy, you want to see him get his comeuppance, right? You want to see him lose and get beaten. That was the whole point of this segment, and that's why it was brilliant. The visual of it was brilliant, and again, Dominik Mysterio took the beating like an absolute champ, and it elevated this angle and this match to another level, so I thought that was absolutely brilliant. But Rey Mysterio, after not appearing on Monday Night Raw since the Horror Show at Extreme Rules, did return this past week on Monday Night Raw. He shared a heart-to-heart with his son, which they then called out Seth Rollins and Murphy. This then led to actually a setup by Rey Mysterio and Dominik attacking Seth Rollins and Murphy with kendo sticks of their own, trying to tie up Seth Rollins into the ropes the same way that they'd done to Dominik Mysterio the week prior, and it was a great go-home angle for the match at SummerSlam. Now, obviously, Dominik Mysterio is not an experienced worker. He has been training for at least a couple of years now, so I think he will surprise people. We've seen in his physicality that I think he can do a good job, and if there's anyone that can bring out or is a steady hand to work with in the ring, it's Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is one of the best workers in the world right now, so I have no doubts. I think the match will be fine. It's a street fight. There's going to be weapons. Of course, there's going to be kendo sticks. Rey Mysterio and Murphy are going to be at ringside, so they're going to get involved as well. There's going to be a lot of smoke and mirrors and bells and whistles in this one, but that's the point. You have to, what's the phrase? You have to highlight your positives, or extenuate your positives and hide your negatives, and that's exactly what they're going to do in this match. And I think it's going to be a spectacle, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Do I think it's going to be 30 minutes? No, I don't think so. I think that Dominik Mysterio, this is really interesting as well. Bray Wyatt did an interview, a Mr. Rogers Firefly Funhouse version of Bray Wyatt did an interview yesterday, and he spoke about Dominik Mysterio. And he made a really good point. He said that Dominik Mysterio is over 6 foot. He's way taller than his father. And he said that if he can fly around like a Rey Mysterio, but be like 6'1", 6'2", then that's going to be a pretty impressive feat. Dominik Mysterio's got huge boots to fill. He's a third-generation wrestler. You've got Rey Mysterio Sr., Rey Mysterio's uncle, in Mexico. Then you've got Rey Mysterio Jr., obviously Dominik's father. And now you've got Dominik Mysterio. So... there's pressure. There is absolute pressure here. But Dominik Mysterio, I think, is only like 23 years old. He's a young guy. Everything he's done so far, he's done very, very well. I have no doubts that Seth Rollins, of course, will guide him through this match. But having Rey Mysterio in his corner, two very, very experienced and talented veterans of what they do, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Dominik will hit a 619, maybe even hit a top rope splash, maybe even do a few Eddie Guerrero moves to try and play off the whole "I'm Eddie Guerrero's son." I'd pop for that. It's going to be interesting, and maybe Dominik Mysterio might not be like Rey Mysterio. Maybe he'll do a more grittier, brawling style. Maybe he'll use the weapons. Just because he's the son of Rey Mysterio doesn't mean he's going to be exactly the same. He's going to carve out his own legacy. So I'm really looking forward to this one. In terms of prediction, we're going to be doing SummerSlam predictions tomorrow on the channel, but I'll do the prediction here for this match. I think Seth Rollins will win this one because I don't think it hurts Dominik Mysterio. I think if Seth Rollins loses, I don't think it hurts Seth Rollins, but it makes the most sense. You can say that Dominik did a valiant effort, but Rey Mysterio wasn't enough to help his son, and Seth Rollins gets the victory. That's what I'm going to go for. But I could just as easily see Dominik Mysterio and Rey Mysterio pulling it off and getting the victory over the Monday Night Messiah. Of course, it is SummerSlam. Sometimes they like to pay off these big stories at SummerSlam and at these big events and have the babyface go over. So I could certainly see that happening too. But I'm looking forward to it, and I think it will surprise a lot of people. I think it's going to be a bit of a sleeper. I think it's one of the matches that I'm looking forward to the most on this show. I really am. So really excited for this one. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Seth Rollins versus Dominik Mysterio in a street fight at SummerSlam? What are your predictions? Who do you think is going to win? What do you think the match is going to entail? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys on this channel. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. It really does help us out. Get up the rankings on YouTube and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos before. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Closing in on 700 subscribers. If we can get to 700 over SummerSlam weekend, that would be awesome. The long aim, of course, is 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be doing a lot more fun content, a lot more live streams, watch alongs, etc. on the channel. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you have, just know that I really do appreciate everyone that takes the time to watch and listen to any of these videos on this channel. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. It's at 365Wrestle on Twitter and at WrestleNews365 on Facebook and Instagram. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below, so be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.